Food and Agriculture Organization has projected that about 25.3 million people in Nigeria would face acute food insecurity during the June to August 2023 lean season. The organization, in a quarterly report released by the Global Organization, shows that the figure projected is higher than 19.45 million forecast in 2022. According to the report, the state of insecurity in northern Nigeria plays a major role in the projected rate of food insecurity in the country. Well, joining me now on the show via Zoom from London is Dr. Isaac Omorogbe. He's an agribusiness researcher. It's the first time on the show. Thank you so much. It's good to have you here.
Thank you very much, Tolu. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right. Let me take the conversation or start the conversation this way. We are a country that struggles with food insecurity, and on the other hand, we are leading food wastage. So I want us to start really on that very, very ironic note. What do you make of this, and how can we start to bridge this gap as we move on?
All right. So thank you very much, Tolu.
Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. You see, it is indeed a very tragic irony, for Nigeria. Nigeria currently have a total food loss of 38 million metric tons a year, at a time when we are grappling with food insecurity. 40% of Nigerians, are facing food insecurity. At the same time, 40% of the total production of food in Nigeria is lost to food wastage. So we have to focus more, on developing strategies to reduce food wastage rather than focusing so much on increasing food production. Over 93 million smallholder farmers in Nigeria lost 25% of their annual income to food wastage. So, I think for me, we should begin to, recalibrate and redefine our focus, towards reducing food wastage in Nigeria.
Okay, allow me to interject now, Dr. Mori. We still like you to sit more to your left so that we have a good shot of you on television. Yes, I think that is better. Yes. So I'd like you to land on that point you were making so that we can take up the conversation more. Thank you. Can you hear me? Hello, doctor, can you hear me? Dr. Isaac, can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you now.
Yeah, I said you can go on with your submission.
Okay, yes. So, what my submission is that, sorry, you are echoing. Okay, so my submission is that, the strategy for now in improving food security in Nigeria, we should focus on, looking at the value chain and reducing those areas in the agricultural value chain that contribute highest to the food wastage. Okay, so for example, according to the World Bank report, Nigeria loses, up to 40% of its total food production each year. And this accounts for 31% of the country's total land use. And if you look at tomatoes, tomatoes, for example, tomatoes, onion, and chili. Nigeria loses like 40 to 60% of tomatoes produced each year to food wastages, while half of the onions produced in Nigeria is lost to food wastages. So we have been focusing too much on increasing agricultural production at the expense of looking at how do we begin to reduce the level of food waste along the agricultural value chain, like production, storage, and processing, in order to enhance food security in Nigeria.
So let's take it up from there, where we've identified some of these challenges. And very quickly, I'd like us also start to find solutions to them as we move on. What do you think is the way out? Now you're saying it's not the normal agricultural increasing productivity. What more can government do? We also see support from donor agencies to help improve agricultural productivity. How well would you say governments have been managing all of this funding over the years? Because we are still yet to get secured when it comes to food.
Okay, so thank you very much, Tolu. So Tolu, the government need to take, a very holistic approach towards reducing the food wastage. So if you look at, for example, what are the causes of food wastage? I just mentioned tomatoes, that we lose over 45 to 60% of the tomatoes we produce each year. Okay, so things like storage, transportation, improving storage facilities, improving transportation. And also, when you look at the value chain is not well organized. Tolu, we are still producing, our farmers are still producing using the very rudimentary equipment. So I think there should be strategic funding and allocation, towards infrastructures along the agricultural value chain that deliberately would reduce food losses. So it is not yet well organized. We need to incentivize the farmers in a way that we can reduce food losses. Our road infrastructure is still very bad. If you go to the north and look at the farmers who are producing onion, tomatoes, they are using very primordial equipment. So, at the level of production, the input at the input level, we should invest heavily at the level of production, like at the production phase. And a lot of food commodities, is also lost during transportation because of bad road. And for perishable items like tomatoes, over 70 to 80% is lost due to poor storage facilities. So I think the government needs to really focus on how can we begin to reduce, food losses along this critical value chain by, incentivizing producers on that value chain and, funding infrastructure, strategic infrastructure, in storage, in transportation, and in input generation.
Let's move on. Transportation, rail transport. Many things should even come in to help augment what has been on ground. Do you think that can help address this issue of transportation and address this timing issue that we face sometimes? For example, a state like Lagos, when not food produce are coming in, fruits and all of that to the likes of Mile 12 market, delays on the road, sometimes the issues around taxes and even levies on the road keeps the drivers, and some of these goods, get bad before they get here, even sometimes 50% of what is being brought in. So what are the quick wins for that?
Yes, so Tolu, you have said it all. That was why I said, at the policy level, we need to be strategic. We need to be very strategic at the policy level, because if you look at the rail transportation, is good, but look at the tariff level, look at the taxes. So is it possible, for the government to begin to, strategically target tariff or tax reduction, for food infrastructure that are related to reducing food wastages? You get what I'm saying? So is there a way we could give priority using the railway system? Is there a way we could give priority to deliberately reducing food wastages? So the government could come up with, very deliberate policies and intervention using the same railway system, and of course, and other transportation means, to reduce, food wastages.
Now, many will say this is not just for the federal government to tackle. Agriculture should be state, local government, full participation and involvement in all of this. I see you nodding already. What sort of conversation do you expect between the federal government and the states at this time, and even the local governments?
Yes. In fact, Tolu, you've just said it all. Now, the perennial challenge we've been facing, is this mindset that we all keep looking at the federal government, in solving all the problems. I mean, you have said it, at the state level, the state governors and the state government need to also start, putting up very deliberate policies, in reducing food wastages. But it's just unfortunate that we have not seen yet enough traction, going on at the state level, to reduce food wastages. So I think state government, need to integrate, as part of their food security strategy, deliberate policy interventions, to reduce food wastages, at the level of the, local government, community level, yes.
So with what we have now, let's wrap up on that note. What do you think about pricing if we'll continue with business as usual? What do you think about food pricing and food inflation in Nigeria?
Yes. So, okay. So, I would like to be hopeful, but however, the key fundamentals and the reality on ground doesn't really, there is not really encouraging, because food prices for now, are still going to be on the increase because there are no clear fundamentals presently, that can predict reduction in food prices, because insecurity is still there. And okay, so with the increase in fuel prices, and this is going to translate also, to increase in food prices. Yes, for now, in the short term, we are still going to be facing, food insecurity, except we start seeing very, short-term and long-term deliberate intervention, from the state level and from the federal government level, to reduce, and cushion the effect of, the food shortages.
You again join us anytime soon to, of course, discuss issues around agriculture and food security. I must thank you so much for your time, interesting conversation there with Dr. Isaac Omorogbe. Thank you so much, agribusiness researcher who joined us from UK. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure being here.